The Denver Nuggets win on a miracle, and Steph Curry still got it. All that and more next on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Hey, what's up, guys? You are locked on to NBA Game Night, every game, every night. We appreciate you being an everydayer and making Locked On NBA your first listen every single day. My name is Gavin, Schall. I'm the co-host of the Locked On Knicks podcast. He, filling in for Rylan Stiles, is Tony East, co-host of the Locked On Pacers podcast, currently boarded up in a hostile Milwaukee hotel room. How you enjoying your time in Bucks country, Tony?
I love Milwaukee. I have a great cable connection in here to watch what turned out to be, after a very slow start, a great day of NBA basketball, Gavin.
All right. Only one place we can start, and that is with the Aaron Gordon miracle, as will be known in Denver. Probably something more creative, but I don't want that to be final.
You haven't seen it? It's the finale oop. That's great. The finale oop.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But first, we want to tell everyone this episode is not brought to you by the Finale Oop. It is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. The Denver Nuggets somehow survive one of the worst fourth quarters I've ever seen. The Clippers turn up the defense. They had initially, it was an 18-6 run, ended up being a 30-11 run to take their first lead inside the final 70 seconds of this game. Denver survives because of a Nikola Jokic Sombor shuffle, and then what turned into an accidental lob from Aaron Gordon that I would argue was mistakenly counted as going in time. You go super slow-mo, freeze frame, looked like his finger was on the ball. They call it a bucket on the court. They uphold the call. Denver gets to go home, tied 2-2 with the Clippers, and seemingly, Tony, in this series once again.
Shocking play at the end. For that to happen the way it did, not only did Jokic have to miss, he had to not even hit the rim. Like if it caroms off the backboard of the rim, Aaron Gordon can't just catch it and dunk it with, it's so close. Like I can't tell. I won't pretend to be able to tell. Zach Zarba, the crew chief, said in a pool report that they had conclusive evidence with their replay angles that it was on time. It's like impossible to tell. One of the closest buzzer beaters I've ever seen. And it's so easy to say, Aaron Gordon, just tip it in. But you don't know if you're going to make it. I respect that he just shoved that thing through the net at the literal last possible moment. 47 minutes, 59 seconds, 9 tenths of the final second to get it in. As close as it gets. One of the most memorable playoff buzzer beaters in my time talking about the league. And they needed that so bad, because you were right. They were up 22 to start that quarter. And the Nuggets were amazing in the third, right? It looked like they were going to run away with it. Jokic finally upped his own shot volume in a way that he kind of hadn't in the series up to this point, and that was working extremely well, even with Zubac giving him all he could handle. But at the last moment, he has one of his worst shots of the game that just went right to Aaron Gordon. I mean, the poor Clippers who fought back so valiantly. Steve Ballmer was about to explode in his chair with excitement. Didn't get to see his team win.
Anyone else, I would assume that wasn't intentional. Nikola Jokic, it's hard to be sure. Let's get the Denver perspective. Our buddy Swipa, the co-host of the Locked On Nuggets podcast, he has more.
Finish. The Denver Nuggets win 101-99 after surrendering a 24-point lead. They had to play the starters basically the entire game. The bench unit was not productive. Jokic with a 30-20 game in a win with a crazy bucket over Ivica Zubac to put him up 2 with less than 20 seconds left. And then Aaron Gordon gets the finish game winner of the NBA playoffs, catches a Jokic wild 3 fadeaway, and then he comes down with it, puts it back with 0.1 seconds left, a runoff game winner for Aaron Gordon. The Denver Nuggets go back to the Mile High City 2-2 for Game 5. Y'all, if you thought this series was good so far, go ahead, get your popcorn, get your favorite couch. I'm telling y'all, it's about to be a fireworks show in Denver.
Matt Moore, his co-host, famously said after Game 3 that the series was over. So little internal conflict going on inside Locked On Nuggets. But I'm with you that third quarter, maybe the best quarter the Nuggets played all series. Nikola Jokic, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists in the third. I go back to the first quarter where the Clippers have the basketball with 2 seconds left, and Ivica Zubac tries to throw it the length of the court, sails it out of bounds. Nuggets get it back. Nikola Jokic hits a 35-footer at the horn. Obviously, butterfly effect, maybe everything else goes different, but possibly the shot that changed the game. The Clippers played, like, despite less than great offense, like excellent defense, I thought, on the Nuggets in the first half. Jamal Murray started 1 for 8. Jokic was held to just 3 assists in the first half. And we talked it through, like, just an incredible third quarter, like threes. He was hitting runners, like had a play where just toasted like the corpse of Ben Simmons off the dribble to put them up by 11. Like ripping no-look passes to Peyton Watson for dunks when he's looking off Aaron Gordon in the corner. Michael Porter Jr. was playing with just one arm at this point, and he reminded me, I don't know if you know this, Tony, that Japanese shooting robot where you just preload the ball and they can make any shot from like 50 feet
I have
or in.
seen that.
That was Michael Porter Jr. in this game. He was just standing there, catch, couldn't really jump, holding it high, but you know, it's some big time shot making. Murray made a couple down the stretch, also had a few throwaways down the stretch. Really, really impressive. And also, I want to shout out Brown, because I thought some of the defense, like he had a possession where swatted Chris Dunn, another one where he tracked Norm Powell in the same play, blocked him, stare down 3 with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter after it felt like he couldn't make a shot the whole game. Clippers torture them in the fourth quarter, right? Going to that 2-3 zone. Denver didn't really have anything left in the tank at that point. And the Clippers come back because Kawhi Leonard misses a couple threes in the final minute, and also because they dug themselves in that big hole. Ultimately not enough, but don't take it from me. Let's hear from our Locked On Clippers host, my guy Darian, who was on hand in LA to give you the latest from there.
We're dome after the third classic game of this series, an instant classic. Unfortunately, one that did not go our way. A huge comeback was made after the Clippers just did not come out with the same level of intensity, but also you knew this was going to be a desperation game for Denver. It was likely going to be a close game, and Nikola Jokic just completely brought it. He was the best player on the floor by a lot, and in the games that he's been the best player, they've won. In the games that Kawhi has outplayed Jokic, the Clippers have won. So without, I can talk about the adjustment to leave Chris Dunn open, and they were really living with that and shutting off James Harden's water more than other games by really leaving Chris Dunn open. But it really comes down to the stars. Kawhi Leonard and James Harden only played well for 1 quarter. And the game of basketball is 4 quarters. And, of course, Aaron Gordon's buzzer-beating dunk, it just added to the long list of playoff heartbreakers for the Clippers. But hopefully we still win the series. It's a best of 3 now. See what we got.
Chris Dunn, Nick Batum combined, 2 for 15 overall from the field. All of the Clippers outside of their 4 stars, a combined 3 for 15 from 3. They blitz Kawhi, they blitz Harden, get the ball out of their hands, and ultimately that was enough to win the basketball game.
Yeah, I tweeted during Game 3 that like when the Clippers are just absolutely on, like apex Clippers, like they were in Game 3 when they were up 20 plus, it felt like the whole game, they look so connected and robotic, and they just mow you down in a way that feels like they're unbeatable. Like they're so good. And in this game, the difference in how much the Nuggets were like, yeah, Chris Dunn, we do not care. Like, whatever, you go stand over there. We're not going to guard you at all. Like, Batum, they at least are worried about a little bit. Like, it really gugged up the game just enough for the Clippers to not have that, just like zip, pop, boom, everything's perfect. And they were still great at times. Like, Zubac was awesome in this game. Kawhi, of course, had his Terminator moments in the fourth quarter. Harden's had a nice series, given that people consider him not the playoff performer, but they weren't apex Clippers in this game, and Jokic was. I think Darian's spot on that it was about the stars, and I already mentioned earlier that he was shooting more. Like, I think I read this. I didn't look it up myself. I believe by the end of the third quarter of this game, Jokic had already taken more shots than any other game in the series to this point. Like, he clearly knew that he needed to get it going. He took 25 shots in this game. Obviously, it helps that the entire Nuggets starting 5 played 42 minutes plus, and he had his chances. But, 36, 21, and 8 just looks ridiculous. And then he was only +4. Like, they needed those minutes to be awesome, and he found ways to score from everywhere, and of course have the greatest missed shot /pass /moment of the series so far. And yeah, best of 3 sounds great. You got to beat Jokic twice. You got to do it one of those times, probably at least in the altitude of Denver. Like, that one's going to sting for the Clippers, even though they were down a ton because they gave themselves a chance late.
Yeah, I wonder if they found something at the end of the game with that 2-3 zone. Again, it was hard to tell how much of that was just Denver being completely wiped at the end of the game. I do want to shout out Bogdan Bogdanovic, who maybe has not been unplayable in this series, but was shooting. He was something like 1 for 9, like coming into this game overall. And it wasn't, I mean, the offense was good, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I thought his defense was exceptional, and him playing with Harden, or I think it was him and Kawhi at the top of that zone, like just both of them ball hawking. Like there's a play where Kawhi picked Jamal Murray's pocket, took it coast to coast. And then he had like the other play of the game that actually put Denver ahead. Like I don't want to speak to his international career in Serbia, which is amazing, but we just stole the ball from his countryman, Nikola Jokic, in the air and hits a reverse layup to make it 97-96 for their first lead of the game at that point with 67 seconds left.
Yeah, I was stunned he got that board. But like you know what's crazy? Like this only Jokic wins that kind of game. Like the inertia of the building, I was like, oh, the Clippers got it. Like as soon as they got the lead, I thought they had it. The Nuggets had nothing left in the tank, but I was wrong. They did not. I mean, everybody's gonna focus on rightly the Gordon game winner, but like Jokic's shot over Zubac the possession before that, it was incredible to get the Nuggets out of an offensive funk too, where they weren't hitting anything for an entire quarter. I mean, he's there's a reason he's MVP talks, man. He's amazing.
I mean, and the crazy thing is like there's an alternate world where like Jokic is looked down upon a little bit coming out of this game, because before that he commits the controversial offensive foul with 150 left, right, where he kind of got a chicken wing out, but Zubac sort of grabs him. He's pissed about that. This is just incredible stubbornness from him. Like does the exact same thing the next play, trying to drive on Zubac, draws the foul.
That's the same thing. That was the same thing.
Screaming it, screams in Zach Zarba's face. But then the Clippers wall is very real, Tony. He misses the first free throw. Second one hits off back iron and drops in. Like sometimes with Jokic, I'm like, is he incredibly good, or did he find like a magical egg in the Serbian forest when he was 5 and just said, hey, I want to be the best basketball player ever, and I want it to look as ridiculous as possible? Because sometimes like the stuff he does similar to Steph, where it just confounds all logic. Anyways, all that being said, shout out to Norm Powell, a few big threes down the stretch. Yep. Big win for Denver. Much to Matt Moore's chagrin, they have a chance. When we come back, Nikola Jokic was not the only magical being tonight. Steph Curry single-handedly carrying the Warriors to a win over the Rockets. We'll talk about that in just a sec here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, we want to tell you about our good friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's super easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. They offer surprising insights. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. It was a lot. Now I budget smarter and I save more. They offer all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. They offer easy collaboration. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, what's up, guys? We are back on Locked On NBA Game Night. We move on to the Bay, where Steph Curry, pinch me if you've heard this before, he was the hero. Let's hear from our guy, Charlie Walter, out in San Francisco, on how this one went down.
Emotional killer for the Houston Rockets. Golden State didn't have Jimmy Butler in this game. And you saw how bad the Warriors looked in Game 2 without Butler on the floor, but just a completely different team. Brandon Bajemski scored more in the first 90 seconds of the game than he had points the entire Game 2. Gary Payton did nothing in Game 2. He was outstanding. Buddy Hield did nothing in Game 2, was outstanding. Quentin Post didn't score like he did in Game 2, but he grabbed rebounds and was able to actually give the Warriors more shot attempts than the Houston Rockets, which is my stat of the game, because that's what the Rockets do. They get more shots than the opposition through hustle, through turning the other team over, and through grabbing offensive rebounds. And they did beat the Warriors by a hair in the rebounding margin, but it was the Warriors who had more shot attempts. And at the end of the day, it was two pretty evenly matched teams that just saw one team win because they had the best player on the floor by legit a mile and a half. Steph Curry, 36 points in the game. The Warriors were plus 18 when he was on the hardwood. He was 12 of 23 from the floor, 5 of 13 from three. Amen Thompson, one of the great young defenders in the NBA, really shut out Curry the last time that they played before the playoffs began. And since the playoffs have started, at least in game 1 and game 3, Curry has had no issues. 31 in game 1, 36 today. Warriors lead 2-1 and hope to welcome back Jimmy Butler on Monday for game 4.
Tony, I don't know about you, like early on in this game when Steph was struggling, I was looking back on early season Golden State, especially after that 12-2 start. I remember, the game before they got Jimmy Butler, he was like 13 of 35 against the Lakers. And I was just thinking there's no way they can win this game. The Rockets are going to slowly, they're up by 12 the whole second quarter. They're going to just inevitably grind this team down into dust. And then the second Steph got going, and basically from early third quarter, I was like, there's no way Golden State can lose this game. He is just going to be the best player on the floor. He's going to control everything. He's going to find the right shot at the right time, going to find the right pass at the right time, and just inevitably is going to find a way to win this basketball game.
Yeah, it's like this series is so funny. Like I watched the start of it, and then I went to meet some people for dinner where the game was on, and we get there, and it's 32-22 Houston. And I was like, oh, it's probably like 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Right? They have 22 points. There was like 6 minutes till halftime. The Warriors couldn't score at all in this game. And yeah, of course, that's indicative of a team that Steph's not playing well and Jimmy's out. But the fact that they recovered from that to have a normal scoring night and like decent percentages, like they were incredible for the second half of this game offensively. With this speaks to Steph's gravity, right? That when he's out there with Gary Payton and Buddy Hield and Quentin Post and Draymond Green, the Warriors look amazing on offense. And Charlie just talked about it. Like Buddy Hield was quite good in this game. He made 5 threes. I've covered Buddy for years. He's an awesome guy. Like he was great in this game. Gary Payton's fourth quarter was incredible. What do you have? 12, 13 points in that frame. Like that was a huge get for the Warriors to have him have a nice offensive night. Like that's not possible with any other player's gravity. And that gravity exists because he can go crazy like he did in this game, where they just have the Rockets, a very, very good defensive team that Charlie was all over. They want to win the possession battle. They want to beat you down and guard you like crazy. They can't stop him. And he wasn't even like crazy awesome from three. I think he was 7 for 10 on twos and had 8 free throws. Like if Steph's killing you going inside the arc too, good luck, man. Good luck.
And the thing is, like, it's not like Houston didn't know the assignment, right? They're blitzing him every time. Yeah. You see Jabari Smith. ESPN showed this play about 10 times, face guarding him like 25 feet from the basket while Golden State's getting offensive rebound. And you see him. It's almost like I have a puppy right now, so I can relate to this. And your only goal is to keep them focused. And that was like all these young defenders on Houston. It's like, all right, like don't lose focus. Don't lose focus. Don't look at the ball. Don't look at the ball. You only look at Steph. And he just takes we've seen it all series, right? Where the Rockets are just physically beating him up. And there's this Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed quality there where he just takes a hit, and eventually you get tired of punching and he's like, all right, my turn. And then he just knocks you out. Some of the shot making, you don't need to hear me rant about it because we've seen it for years and years and years, but like his ability to just like find slivers of space, snake back into banked in elbow jumpers, the 3 hit on Jalen Green where like he ran a mile, staring him down and it was like a mellow 3, like doesn't even put the ball on the ground, like hard jab and just puts like a 26-footer in his eye. And then down the stretch of this game, like sets up Moody for a 3 on a drive, sets up Hield for a 3 on a drive, had like an insane, like late in the fourth quarter, 180 out of what he was trying to make a layup to swing it to the corner to Gary Payton II. He makes a corner 3 that made it 90-86. It was just an absurd finish for Steph. And it felt like Golden State like had such a thin margin without Jimmy Butler, even against this Rockets team that obviously is somewhat inept offensively. And they were able to walk it because Steph was nearly perfect. And it felt like you got just enough from Podziemski, just enough from Payton, just enough from Hield, just enough from Kuminga, and a few bits of defensive brilliance from Draymond down the stretch.
Totally agree. And yeah, it helps them have a lot of margin for error when the Rockets can't score. Like they're going to go as Jalen Green goes this series. It's so interesting. Like when the Rockets play their style and Jalen Green like fits into it. And of course he stood out like crazy in game 2 because he had 8 threes. Like they look really capable on offense. Not like good or awesome, but like capable. When it's like Jalen Green trying to do his thing, and then the Rockets are also trying to do their thing over here, they don't look as good. Like I was coming up with an analogy walking back. Feels like Big Sean to me. I don't like songs by Big Sean, but songs featuring Big Sean always seem to be awesome. So when it's the Rockets featuring Jalen Green, they're going to look a lot better on the offensive end when it's Jalen Green doing his own thing. It's not as good. And that's what it felt like in this game. They didn't get enough from Şengün to overcome that. Fred VanVleet hasn't made shots all series. And Amen Thompson, I mean, everybody gassed him up ahead of the series because he had that awesome game guarding Steph. He hasn't been ready for the playoffs, right? His offense hasn't been there. He's got too many turnovers. He's not having that defensive impact everybody expected he'd have. And so that means the Rockets don't have their style. They don't have their defensive ace, and their best offensive creator didn't score. Like they have such little chance even without Jimmy.
Yeah, it's challenging. But you know what? Let's get to who's been called the Big Sean of the Locked On Podcast Network, Jackson Gatlin, from the perspective from Houston.
Major blown opportunities. The Houston Rockets fall to the Golden State Warriors 104-93 in Game 3. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. And look, the Warriors were without Jimmy Butler in this game. This was a game that the Rockets absolutely should have won. They didn't take care of business. You needed to reclaim home court after losing Game 1 of this series. And this was going to be your best opportunity to do it with no Jimmy Butler for Golden State. And the Rockets just could not get anything going offensively. A lot of credit to the Warriors defense. They moved Draymond Green back in as the primary ball screen defender and a lot of the Rockets pick and roll actions, and that really blew up and gave them a lot of issues offensively. Guys couldn't get it done on the inside. Alperen Şengün struggled, and then Thompson struggled. Fred VanVleet had a hot start in the first quarter, but then just went 1 for 8 shooting over the final 3 quarters of this game. Jalen Green was largely a non-factor. This Rockets offense is in utter shambles. And then on the other side, you had Steph Curry put up a ridiculous 36 points on 12 of 23 shooting. Rockets are now facing a must-win Game 4 before the series shifts back to Houston for Game 5.
Tough one for the Rockets. Fred VanVleet now 11 for 41 from the field in this series. That is 27%. If you don't feel like doing math late at night, if Jimmy comes back by Game 5, I don't really see any way Houston can win this series. But you know what? We'll see if they have an opportunity to turn it around. We're gonna head to Oklahoma City next, though. We're gonna talk Thunder. They ended the Memphis Grizzlies season. What's Memphis gonna do next? We'll get into it all in just a sec here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Memphis Grizzlies missing 3 of their top 6 players. No Jalen Wells, no Brandon Clark, and of course, no Ja Morant. And yet, Tony, I think a really gutty, impressive effort at home, like a good endorsement for Tomas Lisalo to keep this job. The way the Grizzlies fought in this game, you get an incredible performance from Scottie Pippen Jr. You get the benefit of Oklahoma City shooting. They started at least 4 for 29 from 3. And yet the Thunder are just inevitable. They still find a way to pull this out.
Yeah, I have questions of the Thunder in the rest of the playoffs because their offense was not like awesome in the series. I think the Grizzlies are going to be a little annoyed at themselves that after Ja got hurt in Game 3, they couldn't have this kind of offensive night in the second half of that game because they would have won Game 3 for sure if they had closed it with some of the the poise they had today on without, like you said, 3 of their top guys. Scottie Pippen was amazing. If he didn't foul out, this game could have been interesting again late. They had a chance to tie it in Game 3 too. Santi Aldama made shots for the first time of the series. Zach Edey was hooping on defense. He had 7 blocks in this game. The Grizzlies found enough buttons or pushed enough of the right buttons to keep up with the Thunder without all those guys that you mentioned. They should not feel good about getting swept and being the 8th seed. They haven't beat a good team in, it feels like a million years. It's only been a couple months. They can't feel good about that part of this, but to show that Scottie Pippen is something and that your style might actually be good if you're not playing a 68-win team or whatever the Thunder are, they've got to feel okay about this sweep, given that they ended with 2 close games at home. But I do feel gutted for their fans. They couldn't pull one of them out.
Yeah, Oklahoma City finally gets the Shai game they were looking for. He is 38 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. It probably should have been the dagger. Step back long too. I thought that was game goal. Memphis had a little bit to say about it. I want to shout out Alex Caruso because even though this was a sweep that probably will not be remembered by many people, I think this was one of the better defensive series I've ever seen from a guard and had some real moments offensively, like that interior slip pass he had behind Jaren Jackson Jr.'s back in midair to Cason Wallace was one of the better passes I've seen in the playoffs. His ability to just single-handedly play free safety and cut off transition. He had one where he got back and swatted Pippen. Had another one where he was flying back and stripped Kennard from behind. He drew that 5th foul on Jaren Jackson Jr. Just battling through a screen. Like his extra effort, I think, paced Oklahoma City when, to your point, they did not necessarily have their best stuff. You had some flashes from Chet, like the block he had taking it coast to coast. You mentioned SGA throughout, like he was cooking early. 8 of their first 12 points. Really nice sequences from J-Dub, Jalen Williams. Some of the like running hooks he hits are just absolutely ridiculous. But I want to hear from you on your long-term concerns about, or maybe not long-term, I guess near-term playoff concerns about the Oklahoma City Thunder, because that was my kind of takeaway coming out of this series, saying, they won game one by so much. Like, how seriously were they playing the rest of the way? They sweep Memphis, who, I mean, despite all the injuries, despite, to your point, like their inability to beat a great team, like was like a very high-level 8 seed relative to what you would typically expect from an 8 seed. And yet I walk away from this series from Oklahoma City feeling lukewarm, only relative to how I would feel about a 68-win team that had the highest point differential in NBA history.
Yeah, like, look, they're clearly good. What are we doing? We're bellyaching about a sweep.
Well, that's why I'm curious you said it, because I didn't want to put it out there, but I was like, I kind of have that feeling as well. Maybe it's just a testament to how good they are and how high our expectations.
Their half-court offense just felt like Shai can score, right?
Yeah.
Duh. And J-Dub had a really nice game today, but there were just a lot of moments where I was like, man, it's tough for them to get a look that they like consistently in these games. Like they were, again, if Ja doesn't get hurt, like they might get smoked in game 3. They don't know what, 28 or 29 when he left that game. Like they dominated the first 2 games. I'm probably totally overblowing this, but I just like, I still would pick them as the favorites in the West, but I'm like, man, are they a little bit more susceptible to actually potentially losing a series than I thought? Like, no team was within 15 wins of them, but this was like the least encouraging sweep ever, as I would describe it, which is the opposite of damning with faint praise. But it just felt a little weird to me at times.
Yeah, I wanted the shooting is the big question for me. And today obviously is not a good example of that. They shoot 20%, but like, how does Chet hold up? How does J-Dub hold up from that? How does Lou Dort hold up? Because those guys, I mean, all season they got shots and they made shots. And that's where the Thunder, obviously, in addition to their defense, were incredible. I think if those guys aren't making shots, I think the Clippers could beat them. I'm not sure the Nuggets can, just because they don't quite have the depth to do it, even if Jokic ends up being clearly the best player in that series. But I will say, I think it is extremely good news for them that Denver pulled that game off, because instead of getting a fresh LA, you are getting a hard-worn, battle-tested, like whichever team comes out of that, like is going to have some scars. And Oklahoma City, with their depth, is going to be extremely fresh. But you know what? Let's really quick get the Memphis perspective from Joe Mullinax on this game.
The Memphis Grizzlies did not give up in game 4, and that was good to see considering how game 3 went for Memphis. An impressive closing final game without Ja Morant, without other numerous contributors. Lots of issues for this Grizzlies team. The series ends in a sweep against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but at least there was effort at the end. I'm Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and you could tell that it was a different energy. The FedEx Forum fans were about 2/3 in attendance, not as well attended as a playoff game as you'd like to see. And there were struggles. Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. did not have their best games, but Santi Aldama came through. Scottie Pippen Jr. helped compete. Zach Edey had 7 blocks. Memphis did not lie down and take it. The Thunder were the superior team. They deserved the sweep and to move on to the next round. But there are things to look forward to with this Grizzlies team ahead of a summer that almost certainly will be full of change in Memphis, Tennessee.
All right, that was Joe Mullinax from Locked On Grizzlies. So I really think Memphis is just kind of, what perspective do you want to have? Because the young talent, you highlighted it, is really encouraging. And like against the 68-win Oklahoma City team, to your point, Zach Edey is a rookie, like owns the rim in this game, like owns that real estate. He doesn't have hands, but he could certainly block shots with his fingers. Incredibly impressive performance by Santi Aldama, 23 points. We mentioned Scottie Pippen Jr., 30 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. And frankly, like Memphis did not super look like they missed Ja Morant in this game. Vince Williams Jr., 2 massive threes down the stretch after not playing in the early portions of this series when games were close. Like there, and we're not even talking about Jalen Wells. We're not even talking about Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane. Like he had this drive where he split, I think it was Caruso and Wallace, and then like had a pickup outside the foul line and like right over Isaiah Joe. It was one of the best drives I've seen all postseason. I say all that to say, Tony, there's a lot of talent in Memphis, but like, where do they go from here? Is this just a team needing a consolidation trade? Because it feels like the ceiling is very much like this, or maybe second round.
It's very challenging, right? Like I thought they were the second best team in the league the year they lost to Golden State in the second round. And I've heard the theory floated around that like Ja might have already peaked athletically. Like, what do you do with him now if that's the case? Like, I can't shoot that down. I don't know. He didn't dunk as much this year intentionally. He said it on the record, right? So it's very confusing. I think Bane's good. I think Jaren's great. I think Ja Morant's great. But if like there were times this year where their net rating was like suggested this should be the second best team in the West, but they just cannot overcome these good teams, right? So what do you do with this where it's like you have good stuff, you're a money drafting team at like getting role players in the draft, but you just can't, you don't have enough to be a top whatever team. Like, how do you proceed from there? And it's hard for them to just throw, like their financial situation makes it hard for them to just throw their young guys at another good player. Like they probably need a wing that can shoot, but they're in a tricky spot where what does trading away one of your three awesome players get you? Like you still have two, you'll still be decent. Like that doesn't actually help you get to the next step of whatever it is. Blowing it up when you have this much interesting talent is so hard to sell. It doesn't make a lot of sense either. So I don't know what they do. It's a really tricky spot. They just kind of need Ja to be healthy and a little better next year.
I haven't done any research into if this actually works, but I'll throw it out, then we'll move on. Potential Giannis team, I think. Like they're maybe Triple J, bunch of young pieces, bunch of picks. I don't know. Probably not.
The Domantas Sabonis Ja Morant dead swap in the middle of the night in the summer is going to hit like a truck,
that is a lot worse and a lot more mean to the kind people in Memphis than what I said. All right, the Cavs got a big win. Let's hear from our buddy Danny Cunningham.
Danny Cunningham here at the Kaseya Center after the Cavs beat the Miami Heat in Game 3, 124-87. Let's talk about this one for 94 feet. This was a dominant defensive effort by the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's the best way I can put it. I thought that they were fantastic on the defensive end of the floor. They took Tyler Hero out of the game. I thought Max Strus did a great job on him. I thought Evan Mobley defensively lived up to the Defensive Player of the Year billing. What he did against Bam Adebayo, and Bam made a few threes, so he finished with 22 points. But Evan forced him into 6 turnovers, and I thought that really, really slowed down what Miami wanted to do offensively. And then on the other end of the floor, Donovan Mitchell wasn't great offensively. Darius Garland didn't play due to a toe injury, so he missed this. It was an attack by everybody. DeAndre Hunter was awesome. Jarrett Allen was awesome. I thought Evan was really good. Max Strus was really good. Overall, the Cavs just had a complete team domination of the Miami Heat on Saturday. So now they lead the series 3-0, and they will go for the sweep Monday right here in Miami.
I love my long walks with Danny. Let's get the Miami perspective now from your co-host, Wes Goldberg.
Well, the Miami Heat lost Game 3 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 124-87. The Heat just continue to have no answers for this Cavaliers offense. Didn't matter that Darius Garland didn't play because of a toe injury. They didn't need him. The Cavaliers scored a series high 124 points in this game, shot 53% overall, 67% on twos, outscored Miami 60-30. In the paint. This was the most dominant performance for Cleveland of the series, essentially a wire-to-wire win after Miami's quick start. Cleveland just went on their own run and then just took control of the game. So the Heat now go down 0-3 in this series, and in case anybody needs any reminding, no team in NBA history has ever come back from 0-3 to win this series. Look, they were always at a major disadvantage going against the East top seed, right? The Heat were always going to be underdogs in this series, but after Game 2 it looked like they had figured some things out, but in Game 3 it was a stark reminder that this Cavaliers team is just way better than the Heat. For Miami, you get a Game 4 at home on Monday, maybe you can extend the series and avoid a sweep, but essentially what this series is going to amount to is a pretty big learning lesson for the Heat and whatever comes next.
All right, learning lesson for Heat. I would say, Tony, a night of learning and understanding for both of us. This has been Locked On NBA Game Night. He's Tony East. Check out everything he does over at Locked On Pacers. I'm Gavin Schall over at Locked On Knicks, and we'll talk to you soon on Locked On NBA Game Night.